This computer. Yeah, welcome, Todd. Hello, Chris. Glad you could join us. Yi Mei, welcome, welcome.
Hi, James.
Hello. Yeah, hello, Michael. So I did just start the recording, didn't I?
I heard it. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Talk about short-term memory not working very well. Right. So we will be looking again at the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Before we go into verse 7, were there any queries arising out of any of the previous verses? Hello, Shalaka, welcome.
Hello.
So, and if you don't have any now, you can always raise them at any time. So let me just call up the text. I will share screen 1 second. Okay, can you all see a blank iPad?
Yes.
Okay, jolly good. I just want to check that there's the last time, it may have been I did it with you. I've got this, I can stop the screen sharing either by completely turning off the screen sharing, but it's a tiny bit of a palaver to turn it back on again. But there is a function that should say pause screen sharing. Now, if I've paused it now, is it paused or still operating?
We still see the iPad.
In which case, the function isn't working. The pause share function button isn't working. Okay, so okay, I'll resume anyway. So I will give you the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Just
James, are you recording?
I am recording, yes. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks. But you did right to remind me. In fact, at the Sanskrit separate Sanskrit class a few days ago, there was a collective failure. I mean, me and everyone else forgot to I forgot to record. Everyone else forgot to remind me to record. And it was only just at the very end when we come to the end when I realized I'd failed to record and said something that I'm slightly ashamed of, but at least nobody heard me saying it.
You can tell you're a lawyer, James, because you're blaming your failures on everyone else.
Be careful, Duncan. I'm not the only lawyer in this room now. Just be jolly careful. We've got Chris from thousands of miles away. As in the Murray Jones Chris, not the Cottrell Chris. Actually, hang on. Yeah, and Rosemary as well. How many lawyers are we? We're heavily over-lawyered. I forgot. Yeah, we're heavily over-lawyered. Yeah. So we've got 3 lawyers in this room.
Sorry.
Actually, there was somebody who about 2 or 3 years ago when I was sharing a screen, fiddling about, and I actually accidentally cancelled a document and lost a document I was just about to share.
Oh dear.
And okay, well, that wasn't bad enough. But what was quite bad was that I again ashamed to say, lost control of the kind of words that were coming out of my mouth that would express how I felt at that moment. And a naughty word emerged. And there was a delightful elderly lady there who, really razor sharp. She said, "Don't worry, James, we didn't hear you." I mean, you can't get nicer than that, can you? Anyway, back to the Karaniya Metta Sutta. Mata yatha niyam puttam ayusa eka puttam anurakhe evam pisabhabhute sumana sambhavaye aparimanang. Many of you will have seen the translation. I think it's the most common translation about just as a mother will protect her only son with her life. I was given an alternative, which I'll explain to you. In fact, it was via Rachel Hall, who got it off a monk in Thailand, who said actually it doesn't mean protect her only son with her life, but for the whole of her life she will carry on protecting him, which I feel kind of largely persuaded by, which I will explain. So the word yatha, as, it more commonly than not you'd find it in the first position of the sentence. So in regular prose, you'd be more likely to see yatha mata niyam puttam anurakhe, just as a mother protects her son. As so often happens in poetry, the word order is far freer. The meaning remains entirely unchanged. So just as the mother, mata, the mother, yatha mata, just as a mother. And the verb is anurakhe. It's from our root raksh, meaning to protect. And it can have a prefix a as well. Actually, this one is with anu. I can't remember whether I've mentioned to this group, but that same root, the raksh, which becomes in Pali rakhati, comes into, we find it in Greek with the prefix a as alex. So araksh, alex. So Alexander is protector of men. He who protects his men is Alexander. So it's the same rak. So this is the optative form, not anurakati, but anurakhe. It could be anurakheya or anurakhe. It's the optative form, which is often used as a kind of indefinite. So it's not stating that a particular mother protects her child. This thing, just as a mother, meaning any mother, might protect her child. And that's why the verb is anurakhe, not anurakati. Just makes a kind of a general statement, not applying to any particular person. The prefix anu is part of the reason that I was persuaded that it could mean will guard her child, not with her life, but her whole life long. Now, this very interesting word, ayusa, it's an instrumental. It's ayu in Pali, ayus in Sanskrit, and ayu or ayus means life, but more in the sense of length of life, not being alive as opposed to being dead. That's more jivita. But ayu is more life in the sense of length of life and also length of healthy life. The word has come into English. Let me just give you so ayu. Oops. It's ayu with a subdotted H in Sanskrit, just ayu in Pali. We have the word has actually come into English as in Ayurveda, the in Hindu medicine, Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda literally means life science. That's the literal meaning of it. Veda meaning knowledge. So it's that particular science relating to length of life, healthy life. It's the same word, the same ayu. Oops. So it's my pen playing up again. Uh-oh. My electronic pen seems to be playing up.
Are you still on pause? No,
Which pause?
you were pausing the
Is it the screen share?
screen share. Yeah.
But you can see the screen, my shared.
Yes, we can.
You
So
can. Okay, yeah. So no, I tried to pause. I'm trying to pause it now. Has anything changed for you? Can you still see the shared screen?
we can see Ayurveda and some
Okay, right. So
squiggly
okay,
lines,
okay,
squiggly lines and colours.
okay. Oh, that's just let's see if it works now. It's no, sorry, I'm getting a problem with my iPad.
Oh,
Let's see if it works again. It's not working. I've got a backup, manual backup. Bear with me one moment. Don't go away. Having wheeled my manual backup into place, I just hope I haven't lost the pens now. Right?
yeah.
Sorry about this. Me and technology can be a bit of a Laurel and Hardy show. Let me just. Okay, it has decided not to work. So here we go. So Ayurveda, that's as far as I got with the iPad. Now the iPad has stopped working. From the same root, incidentally, we get the Greek, how is it spelled in Greek? Ion. So it's the one, it's the same word that gives us an eon from Greek, eon in Greek. It's the same word. It's the same word that gives us aevum, meaning an age in Latin, from which we get medieval from the Middle Ages. And by the
James,
yes,
can you stop sharing screen and then we can see you in we see
okay,
all of you.
okay, right. I'll
Thank you.
stop sharing.
Thank you. That's it. That's better.
Okay, jolly good. Right, very good. Oh, was my screen very small in the corner?
You can make it bigger, which I did.
Okay, is it okay now?
Fine, it's lovely.
Okay, good. Right. So Avum, from which we get medieval, and we very often find a v to a g change. So in fact, it's from that exact same word that we get the English word age. So Ayu, Ion, Ivum, age, and via the Germanic line, we get the German ewig, meaning eternal. And we also get the older English Pharai, the Aye, the old English word meaning ever. So it all comes from this Ayu. So duration, length of life. So have you? Hopefully, you've all got your own texts of the Metta Sutta in front of you. Okay, very good.
James,
Yes.
sorry to butt in. It occurs to me, would it be legitimate
So it sounds as if you're in a bit of an echo chamber, Chris.
oh, okay, sorry about that. Try. Does that sound better?
But that is a bit better.
Okay. I wonder if it could be constructed, um, her own son, the only son in her life. In other words, that
Yeah.
the Ayusa could go with Ekaputam.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome, Xianhui. I Experience has taught me to be somewhat reluctant about dismissing a suggestion that you have, because it's happened on several occasions that you've made a suggestion which, on careful analysis, has actually proved to be very insightful. But I think here we fall a bit foul of the instrumental here. The ayusa is unambiguously instrumental. And the two potential interpretations I've seen of it, either that she protects the sun with her life, which is okay, that's clear enough. Even though now I tend to think that's not right, because if it's with her life, and if you're protecting somebody with your life, who if you lay down your life, the word jivita would be used rather than ayu. So ayusa, I would interpret it as the instrumental of duration of time. So she protects her son throughout the duration of her own life. She'll carry on protecting her son. Now, the only son in her life, the instrumental, I don't think I can make the instrumental bear that meaning. Otherwise, it would have to be IUC in her life. It would also be somewhat pleonastic, because Niyam Puttam, Niyam, her very own Sanskrit, Nija, her inborn, born of herself. So in her life would be somewhat pleonastic then.
The only son during her lifetime?
At the moment, I would kind of give it a small footnote rather than an alternative explanation. I can't make that gel with the instrumental force, which could be either she protects her son with her life, one interpretation, or for the duration of her life. But fear not, you see, many a time a student has said, is this alternative explanation possible? And I have dismissed it. And then as the week has gone by and I've thought again, and then particularly I thought, maybe I was too swift to dismiss that. So many a time I've come back and said, well, I think you were right after all. See what I think at our next class on this one. At the moment, I can't make it work.
Quite content to be a loyally footnote, James.
This alternative explanation will protect her son for the duration of her life was actually one that Rachel Hall, whom many of you will know, that Rachel Hall gave to me fairly recently, within the last couple of months or so, following a trip to Thailand, where she had that explanation from a Thai monk. And then it did certainly gel with me. So niyam, by the way, is a Pali variation from the Sanskrit nija, literally inborn, born of herself, the son born of her own body would be the meaning there. And the ekaputtam is just a poetic emphasis. One son here meaning only son. Her son, her only son. Just as we could do the same for poetic emphasis in English. So matayatanyam puttam ayusa ekaputtam anurakhe. So just as the mother will, either with her life or for the duration of the life, protect her son. Look at this verbal prefix, anurakhe. So we have the rakshati in Sanskrit, rakhati in Pali, to protect. You have it in our very common blessing chant, Bhavati Sabba Mangalang Rakhantu Sabba Devata. This anurakhe, the anu, cognate with the Greek verbal prefix ana, here it has the meaning of kind of continuously along, following along. So the anurakhe here gives to the verb a tone of continuing care, continuing following along with the protection, not just a single act of protecting somebody from a danger, but a constant, ongoing, following, careful, welcome Ram, a following, constant, ongoing protection. There, occasionally I've detected a tendency in people to skip over the subtleties of these verbal prefixes. And these verbal prefixes in Sanskrit and Pali, they will often really change the flavor and meaning of the entire word, the word. And the anu, it just has a lot of force in it. This anu here does within itself, just within those two little syllables, contain the idea of this ongoing care, not just a one-off protection, the ongoing, continuing care. We see, for example, in the recollection of the qualities of the Buddha. It's not just sarati, Sanskrit smarati, means to remember something. But in the Pali, when we have the recollection of the qualities of the Buddha, we have anusarati, which is anusmarati in Sanskrit, anusarati. It's like remembering along, not just, oh, I remember that one, I remember that one, I remember that one, but just sarati, smarati. But the anusarati contains within it the idea of an orderly, methodical recollection. In other words, calling the qualities to mind one by one, which is exactly what we do in this recollection of the qualities of the Buddha, or the recollection of the qualities of the Triratnam or Tiratanam in Pali, the triple gem. So it's an orderly, continuing recollection. So I'll come back a lot to these verbal prefixes. And if upon my tombstone somebody writes, "Here lies the verbal prefix maniac," I will feel that I have achieved something. I will not be unhappy with that epithet on my tombstone. So just as the mother, for the whole of her life, continues or has a continuing protection of her own son, her only son, evampi, in just that same way. In fact, in this evampi, it's almost like even so in English. The pi is is api in Sanskrit, but in Pali is often shortened, well, I say mostly shortened to api, except at the beginning of a word, it can't, of a sentence rather, it can't be. But in Sanskrit it would be evamapi, but in Pali evampi, and it means, in this context, it means also, or exactly like that. Evam, in that way, evampi, in just that same way. It stresses and emphasizes the evam. Bhavaye, this again is the optative. These are the Anurake is an optative, bhavaye is an optative, but they're used in slightly different senses here. The optative in the first line, anurake, is a generalized statement for just as a mother might protect her only son. We're not talking about a specific mother. We're talking about it's a general characteristic of loving mothers that they will protect their children. So just as a mother might protect her son, here the bhave is also optative, but here it's an optative used as general advice, general instruction to everyone, and there's no specific subject. Manasam Bahavaye, let one develop. So there's a general optative saying how we should behave in life generally. The Bahava.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I've
Oh,
got a
yes, you
but
may.
I think I was interrupting you, so I'll let you finish first.
No, actually, you carry on, provided you remind me where I left off.
Okay. So bawaye, does it come from the same root word as bawana?
It does indeed. Yes,
Okay.
you've taken the very words out of my mouth. And in fact, it's a very, very expressive word. It's aha. My pen has started working again. Oh, I'm not shared, am I? Okay, here we go. Sorry about this. Budum, budum, budum. Can you all see the iPad now? Very good. It is no. So it's, I don't know what's happened to it. If it carries on playing up, I'll go back to my whiteboard. So it's from our very common root bu, meaning to be.
Mm.
And it makes its present tense bhavati, which in Sanskrit, in Pali, you can also soften it to hoti. So bhavati, same in Sanskrit and Pali, but Pali allows the short form hoti that Sanskrit doesn't allow. It has a causative form, meaning a causative, as the name suggests, is to cause to be, to bring into being. And it is bhavayati. And Pali has the alternative form, bhaveti. I'll explain that. In Sanskrit, bhavayati is the only permissible form for the causative. You do see bhavayati in Pali, but more commonly, the ayati is softened to eti, so bhaveti. It's exactly the same meaning. So bhavayati then means to, or bhaveti, means literally to cause to be, therefore to bring into being. It also, importantly, remember, means to enhance the being of what already is, to make it more than it is, and therefore has the sense of developing something, cultivating, developing. And that is, and it makes a verbal noun, bhavana, um, which then means the act of bringing into being or development or cultivation. And you're rightly may, it is that word that this generally means the one of the words meaning our practice, but with the specific meaning of cultivation. In modern India, the word bhavana has different meanings in different parts. I mean, for example, I know in Hindi and Marathi, I think in Marathi as well, can it mean a prayer? I remember an old Jain I knew once gave me something written in, I think it was a combination of Sanskrit and Marathi called, or Hindi and Marathi called Meri Bhavana, meaning my prayer. So it was the prayer that he said every day. Would that be used in Marathi in that way?
Bhavana, no, not sure. Bhavana is used as a feeling or sensation, or
Ah, okay,
um,
that's interesting. A while ago, we had a Bengali lady in this class who says that in Bengali, it has or can be used with the meaning of the idea that you have about something. But it's also it's
yes.
the idea of something that's generated, something you've generated in the mind. It can be the wish that you generate to make into a prayer, as in Meri Bhavana in Hindi. And as you said, it can be a feeling. So the word has grown through various meanings. For example, Ram, I mean, in Tamil, is the equivalent word used in Tamil? And what meaning would it
It's
have?
coming from the Sanskrit roots, and it has exactly the same meaning that Shalaka and your Bengali friend told. Exactly the same thing. Yeah. So it's assuming forms. It's creating things out of imagination, and it's
Okay, right.
bhavanai, but it's the same thing. Yeah. It's from.
Okay, right. Yeah. So there we are. The word has spread, as you'd expect, of course, to all corners of India, north to south and east to west. But in the Buddhist usage, it does specifically mean the development or cultivation in a spiritual sense. And the bhavayati, it makes the past participle bhavita, same in Sanskrit and Pali, in Sanskrit and Pali. And so bhavita means that which has been developed or cultivated. And
Sorry, James, to interrupt. I thought you mentioned it, but the root bhu itself, does it have a meaning?
oh yes, it means to be.
To be. Okay.
To be as simple as that. Not only that, but it's directly cognate with our English word to be. Our be comes from the same, Proto-Indo-European root as the Vedic and Sanskrit bu. And incidentally, the German I am, ich bin. In Russian, for example, to be is быть, and I will be budu. So that same root is there. So that's why it has this meaning of causing to be, bringing into being. We are warned in an early stage in the Sanyutta Nikaya of the dangers of the adbhavitam chittam, the undeveloped mind. In other words, the mind the uncultivated chitta, the chitta that's just left to go wild all over the place, the dangers of that. And the great benefit of the bhavitam chittam, see, the great benefit of the cultivated, the developed chitta, developed in the spiritual sense. So here we are. Evampi, in exactly the same way, sababhutesu manasam bhavaya parimanam. So manasam, we have our root man, meaning to think. Basically means it is a wider meaning, but essentially it means to think. It's from man, that we get in Hindu philosophy.
Are you writing on the iPad?
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. So we get Manu, who in Hindu philosophy and theory of origin of the universe is the primal man, from whom mankind ultimately descends. And happily, it is no accident that our modern English word man and the primal Hindu Manu, they are the same, because the idea was, and this man thinking, it comes into Latin as mens, mental, you see, and by the Germanic line into English as mind. So mind and man come from that same root, on the grounds that humankind is distinguished from the animals by the capacity of thought. That's the idea behind that. And a word for mind is manas, which in Pali normally turns up as mano. In fact, it's the very first word in the most beloved of all, pretty much, safe saying, the most beloved of all long poems in Pali, which is the Dhammapada. Mano Pubbangama Dhamma Mano Sekha Mano Maya. So manas, that's a, as I say, in Pali turns up as mano. You can make an adjective out of manas by vriddhi, strengthening the first syllable and adding a, so manasa. Now, originally, manasa was a regularly formed adjective meaning mental. Manas, mind, manasa, adjective mental. However, in Pali, manasa also came into use as a noun, meaning not exactly mind, but something like mindset, mentality. So in Ivampi, in that same way, one should develop a boundless mentality or mindset, a mindset of boundlessness, sabbabhutesu, among all beings. Or develop that mentality towards all beings. This is the locative plural here. Just meaning among. It's just you often in words of thinking about or having a fear of something, you often use the locative there. So it's this particular mindset or mentality should be developed. In English, we'd say towards or for all beings. Just in Sanskrit and Pali, you'd use the locative. Sarva bhuteshu in Sanskrit, sabba bhutesu in Pali. Now, we've just been talking about our root bhu and bhavana. This bhuta here is from that same root. It's a regular past participle, bhuta. So originally, bhuta, just the past participle of bhu, it means been, something which has been. By extension, it means something which has come into existence, therefore a being. And that's what it means here, all beings, among all beings. It has also this meaning of something that has been. So interestingly, you can tell me what they do, how it works in Marathi and Tamil, but the word in Hindi, the word bhut, often means a ghost, because it means it's the spirit of somebody who has been in the past, but who has died and is no more. And rather like the use of the word pret, which is preta in Sanskrit, somebody who's gone beyond. In Hindi, you talk about bhut pret, the ghosts and the spirits of the departed. So among all beings, one should develop this manasam, this mentality. What mentality? Aparimanam, for all beings. Actually, it just so happens I was in an Indian restaurant just a few days ago in Manchester, and there was a sign on the door in English saying no entry, staff only, which, okay, fair enough. But it also had various signs around the place in Hindi, and this one had on the door, Yahan bhoot rehte hain, meaning that there are ghosts in here. So in English, no entry. In Hindi, there are ghosts in here. So I thought, I'm going back there. I've got a good sense of humor in there. Anyway, back to something more serious. Aparimanam. Does anyone recognize the word parimana? Parima?
Is that something with transformation?
That is pramana. Parinama is the other way around. It's a parinama, parinamati, to transform. This one actually, parimana, and the English word from Greek perimeter are the same, etymologically the same word. So the root ma means to measure. And just as matra in Sanskrit, the original meaning of a matra is a measure. It becomes matta in Pali, but matra. And it's the same matra that in Greek becomes metron, etymologically the same word, which we have in English as meter, meaning which is measure. Pari in Sanskrit means, enlarge this a bit for you. Pari is around. It's the same word as the Greek peri, meaning around. So perima, to measure around, in Greek perime and perimetron is the around measuring. So the perimeter, the around measure, so the boundary around a piece of land, for example, is the perimeter. So the aparimanam is with no boundary, with no measure around it. So what is being said here that you should develop bhavaya, this aparimanam manasam, this unbounded mind, this literally unperimetered mind. In other words, I think the idea here is with that this metta and this mentality of love you should develop just as a mother for a child. Ideally, we develop that for amongst sabbabhutesu, all beings, aparimanam, without creating a boundary. Either a boundary, it could mean two things, either a boundary for that sense of love and protection. It could also mean, and possibly it's meant to mean both, a boundary between who are my friends that I want to include in my love, and who are those that I want to exclude, to be on the other side of the boundary. Now, this could be one of those interesting cases where you could argue, does it mean one or the other? And it might very well mean both at the same time. I think in the mind of the native speaker, to the extent that we can put ourselves into the mind of the native speakers 2,500 years ago, it could, I think it could possibly have held both those meanings at the same time. That it's without a boundary in the sense you don't exclude anybody, and it's within a boundary as you don't limit this feeling of metta that you have towards people. A bit of a tall order to do in real life, but nevertheless, those of us who are following the Buddhist practice very often have to meet tall orders and measure ourselves against them. So we'll have a couple of recitations of this from those who feel willing to recite. But before we do, were there any queries arising out of it?
I've got a
Yes, please.
question
You may.
so you're talking about the anu prefix.
Yes.
Is that the same as Anutaro Purisa Dhammasarati?
No, it's not.
What's the difference?
No,
Okay.
yeah. Sometimes you've got it's a question of where you divide the word. So this is Anurake. Anuttaro. You've got the preposition, also verbal prefix ut, which entertainingly is exactly the same as, or sorry, etymologically the same as our English word out and the Sanskrit Pali ut are the same word. Something that is further out is uttara. Uttara means something beyond, something further out. And in English, we have utter, as in utter nonsense, or outer. So uttara in Sanskrit and Pali is exactly the same as utter or outer in English. If something then is anuttara, it means there is nothing beyond it. It is unoutered. It is unsurpassed. So it's anuttara. Means there is nothing better than it. You can't go beyond it. But yeah, if you don't put the word divisions in the right place, it can cause a little bit of confusion.
I see. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay then.
James,
Yes, Rosemary.
I had a question about Anu and Anna in
Yes.
Greek. When you were talking about your tombstone with verbal prefixes,
Okay, right, very good.
it suddenly popped into my mind that at Easter time, Greek people say Christos Anesti, which is
That's
from
right.
the verb from the word anastasis.
Exactly,
Anasteno.
yes. Yeah.
Now, we translate it as resurrection, and it has an idea of happening again, repetition. Is that the same thought? You were talking more about continuity,
Yeah. It was
renewal, a sort of resurrection.
Yeah. In fact, the meaning shifted slightly in Greek. It's the same underlying idea. The meaning extended in Greek to mean happening again. So Anastasia, literally again standing. By the way, those of you who are old enough to remember the famous Romanian tennis player Nastase, his name is an abbreviation in Romanian, Anastasia, Nastasi. So that's right. It means, but so in Greek it can mean rising again, or just doing something. Also upwards. But where you see the Greek ana used in the very much the same meaning as the Sanskrit Pali anu, is where, for example, you have logia, meaning reasoning, and analogia, which in English we have as analogy. So the analogy is the anu reasoning following the same line of reasoning. So reasoning accordingly, reasoning in that same way. So analogy is probably the best example in Greek, which of course we have in English, to show the use of this anu in Sanskrit and Pali.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And it has the meaning of like a continuity, doing something repeatedly, doing something, keeping at it. We've got it in verse 2. if the monk is kulesu anu gidhu, anu gidhu. Giddha, Sanskrit gridhra, means greedy. Anugiddha means being greedy for something, like consistently or persistently going after it with greed. So if you are meaning not here, ananugiddhu, you are not literally greeding after it. This is, by the way, another of those lovely cases where our English word greed and the Sanskrit gridha are etymologically that same word. So gridra, which actually also has come to mean in Sanskrit, it means a vulture, the gridra, because the vulture is the greedy bird wanting to pick the meat off dead animals. So here there's another meaning of the ana. Well, I'm not sure if we've got any others here. There are plenty as we go along that we will find. The word for the Buddha trembling in sympathy with the world, out of compassion for the world, is anukampa. So kamp, the root kamp, and kampa, kampati, means to tremble. And if something is kampa, it means unshakable. So if the Buddha anukampati, he trembles along with, like trembles in harmony with. That's the same as compassion for the world. When the world is trembling in grief or fear, the Bhagava anukampati, he trembles along with them. Also, another use of the anu is with the root vad, to say, and you get anuvada. In fact, you use, I know the word is used in Hindi, anuvad. I don't know if you use it, anuvadam or anuvad in Marathi, meaning a translation. So,
Yes, anuvad means translation in
okay,
Marathi.
fine.
Yeah.
Now that's a very good meaning of this, very good example rather of this anu, because vada means speaking or saying. Anuvada, you are saying accordingly. You get the original text, and your anuvada is what you are saying. Then is following along in a different language from the original text. So that's the effect of the anu. You're saying in accordance with what is said in the text you're translating from. And another one where we have in our blessing chant, Sabbabuddhanubhavena sadasuti bhavantute. There's the anubhava. Okay, again from this is a beautiful word. There are so many beautiful words, but this one is so full of meaning. The anubhava. You have the word with a short anubhava, meaning to experience something. Your being goes along with it. You are being, but you're being along with some. You are experiencing. You are along being it. A different form with a long not anubhava, which is experience, but anubhava is more like that which emanates from somebody's being. It's like the idea of a spiritual power, a charisma emanating from a being. So, Sabbabuddhanubhavena, by the anubhava of all of the Buddhas, meaning by the power, the grace, that which emanates from their being, that which accompanies their being. And you have the same kind of idea in modern India, where you have darshan of a guru, because you just go, darshan literally means seeing. Darshana in Sanskrit, dasana in Pali. You have darshan of a guru, just sit at the guru's feet, even if nothing is said, just to have sight of him, because you are experiencing, you're having his anubhava, just what is emanating from his being. So yes, you may carve deep upon my tombstone, the Sanskrit and Pali prefix maniac.
James?
Yes, please, Rosemary.
Can I just remind you of another Anu that you and I were discussing recently? In the Satipatthana Sutta, Foundations of Mindfulness
Yes.
Sutta, that which is commonly regarded as a Vipassana Sutta, verb vipassa does not occur. The verb that is used is anupassati.
Okay.
Seeing along with.
Seeing along with. Now, I will maintain. Again, we might have an entertaining argument about this. That vipassati and anupassati are actually have distinct meanings.
Yes, you know that exactly.
Yeah. Okay, fine. We are at idem on that one. I'm pleased about that. So the anupassati. Sorry, I'm writing on my iPad. So the word passati on its own just sees. Anupassati bears the idea then seeing along. In other words, a methodical, orderly consideration. He's looking at one thing after the other, not random seeing here and there, but a methodical, orderly seeing. Nahamanyan ekadhammampi samanupassami. I do not sam anupassami. So anupassami is to consider. It's the orderly seeing. It's like anusarati, remembers along, orderly recollection and sequence. Anupassati will mean to a methodical consideration. Looked at everything in order, and you pass them in review. You might say. And do you agree with that analysis, Chris?
I do, but in the context of the Satipatthana Sutta, where he is, if I read it correctly, abiding in the body, anupasi, or kai anupasi.
Kai anupasi, yes, okay.
I would read it, since it's describing a meditation practice, I would turn it as sort of seeing along with the body.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Observing, even constantly observing, but
yeah,
about being present with the body, staying very close to the body.
Okay, but that certainly then does embody our meaning of the staying with it, continuing with it, going along with it.
Yeah, that's not in any way to disagree with the way you described it as well.
Well, I want people to disagree. That's how I learn.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of context, I think.
Yeah, in a case like this, it is a matter of context. I mean, incidentally, we've got to be wary of, because the etymology of a word says so and so. That's what it means in that context. Very often it doesn't. It's often misleading to look at the etymology of the word to determine the exact meaning of it, particularly within a Buddhist context. What is almost always valuable to do is to see the etymology, the underlying meaning, and that often gives us a clue as to why that word was chosen. So sometimes etymology is very helpful. Other times it just gives us a useful background flavor of the word, like nirvana, nibbana. I mean, it literally means blowing out, as in blowing out a candle. Well, oh, nirvana means blowing out, you're extinguished. Well, hang on, not quite. Certainly, the kleshas, certain defilements are extinguished, certain fires are extinguished, but it's not the entire extinction of a person. So that's just one example where you don't rush into saying that's the etymology of it, therefore that's what it means. But to get the flavor of a word, and very frequently the exact meaning, the etymology is helpful. But yes, I mean you're right, Chris. The kayanupassi here, what it exactly means will depend on context. But it's got that same broad underlying meaning, like a methodical continuing watching.
Yeah,
Right.
no question of that.
Right.
It just interests me that that word is chosen rather than vipasati.
Yeah. So vipacity is specifically insight. But what we'll do, we resume on this? We've just gone 8, so we'll have our 15-minute break, and I'll see you all in 15 minutes from now. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Okay. Five minutes into the break, I suddenly remembered that I'd forgotten to pause the recording. That's another thing. Please collectively remind me to start the recording at the beginning of a session and to pause it during the break.
Right.
So just resuming on the Anupassati and Vipassati and Kaya Anupassati, my understanding of Vipassati, the V is our separative prefix, either splitting apart or away. And it has in Vipassati, that's the one typically translated as insight, and Vipassana is translated as insight. My own understanding of that is that you are, as it were, penetrating the veil. You're drawing the veil aside, so you're looking not just at the surface, but you are seeing into something. And that's my take on the force of the prefix vi there. So it mostly has a separative kind of meaning. And one puzzling one is the is vijnana. That's the one that's typically translated as consciousness. And was that intended by the original speakers to mean a kind of a split knowing, jnana knowing, a split knowing? In other words, knowing that you know, because consciousness is kind of knowing that you know. I shall be interested in views as we go along on that one.
Well, in conditioned arising, vijnana, split knowing, is immediately followed by nama rupa.
Also the split, the nama rupa split, yeah. I hadn't spotted that. That's an interesting one, Chris.
The split into nama rupa follows from vijnana.
From our split knowing, and then the split of nama rupa, mentality, materiality. Good. I hadn't spotted that. That's a good one.
Might the vijnana also point at the separation of the different sense gates?
Which is the next step, of course.
In
conditioned arising.
The vijnana. I think it could, you know. And you often get the discussion, as I was mentioning earlier, it doesn't mean that or that, but the word can be broad enough to encompass these meanings at the same time, to contain those meanings at the same time.
But it would seem to me that it goes from split knowing to, if you want to translate it that way, materiality, materiality, then the sixfold sense base.
Yes.
The further division of
So yeah, I mean that reinforces Todd's point. So yeah, I think it does fall into place here.
I would take the primary split of vijnana as being subject-object.
That's right. And then the very word conscious, it means a with knowing, means a knowing alongside another knowing. So it suggests there are two knowings going on at the same time. Conscious. Yeah. So back to our text. Oops. Oh. Back to our text, which somehow closed. Here we are, back to where we were. Before we move on to verse 8, is there anybody who would love to give us a recitation of the Pali? I'm afraid usually at these sessions there are a couple of people that I almost insist we have a recitation from. That's because I just love hearing the authentic voices of India reciting these things. So we've got Shalaka and Ram available to do that for us.
I would go for it.
I'm sorry, say again, Shalaka?
Can I recite it?
Yes, you can. And in fact, you say I've also got it up in the Devanagari script there.
Yes.
In case you're wondering why have I got the Pali there in the Devanagari script, because of course you can write Pali in the Devanagari script. It's mostly not written like that. It was simply because some time ago, when I had some students who were doing both Pali and Sanskrit with me, and of course for Sanskrit we were studying the Devanagari script as an integral part of the study, and he just persuaded me to incorporate the Devanagari script for the Pali as well, just for additional practice as we went along. So this was at that time that I was doing this. So that accounts for the Devanagari script, which, in case any of you don't know, the Devanagari script is not normally associated with Pali. I mean, the Devanagari script is definitively associated with Sanskrit, and of course Marathi, Hindi, and Nepali, several of the languages of northern India. But there's nothing to stop you writing Pali in Devanagari. In fact, Devanagari is a very good script to write Pali because all of the sounds are there. It is the same sound system, very close to Sanskrit.
Sorry, James, how different is the original Pali script then from Devanagari?
There is no original Pali script.
Okay. It was only a spoken language.
It was only a spoken language, and it was almost kind of analogy with Latin in medieval Europe. Sanskrit in India was the kind of educated language, it was the language of the Brahmins, of course the sacred language, and you got a number of the Prakrits, the natural languages, very, very close to Sanskrit, and were they ever written down? Well, you've got the edicts of Emperor Ashoka written down not very long after the death of the Buddha, but he used the Brahmi script, which was a very old form of the script that was used for Sanskrit. And that was written down in slightly differing versions or forms of Pali or forms of Prakrit in different parts of India, where these rock edicts were written. But the first methodical writing down of the scriptures, of the suttas, didn't occur until about 400 years after the death of the Buddha, and that was done in Sri Lanka. Was when it was first written down, and it was done. I'm not even sure if we know what script it was. It probably whatever script they used there at the time. And traditionally, it has not mattered, even to this day. It doesn't matter what script you use for Pali. And for example, a Thai monk will chant from all the scriptures there will be printed in the Thai script. If a Thai monk visited Sri Lanka and saw the scriptures written in the Sinhala script, he wouldn't be able to understand a single word of it. It's the same Pali that he might know well. And the same applies to Burmese as well. So the Thai, Burmese, and Sinhala scripts. There are now editions of the of the Pali scriptures, printed in India in the Devanagari script, and we use the Roman script. So, for example, it's been said to me in the past, well, we aren't really reading Pali because we're reading it in the Roman script. The answer is yes, we really are reading Pali because it traditionally and culturally in Pali, it does not matter what script you use. Some years ago, I was back in my 20s, I was actually in Tamil Nadu and I was talking to an elderly Tamil at the ashram of Sri Ramana Maharshi, actually. And and we were discussing something about some Sanskrit text, and he took out a book and said, oh, I've got the Sanskrit text here. And he opened the book. And I made a really silly comment then. I didn't realize at the time how silly it was. But that's not Sanskrit, that's Tamil. And then he looked at me as if I'd said something really silly, because I hadn't realized that down in Tamil Nadu, they print Sanskrit in the Tamil script. And it's not, there's nothing inauthentic. It's just, it does traditionally, culturally, it doesn't matter which script you use. So it's the complete opposite, for example, of the cultural importance of the writing. The writing is very unimportant in India, the way it's written. The only criterion for a good script is that it accurately represents the sound. That's the criteria for a good script. It's culturally the exact opposite. We have two native speakers here. It's culturally the exact opposite of Chinese, where in Chinese, among the Brahmins of India, the educated spirituality is you could recite the Vedas with the exact correct sound. Among the Chinese, how you said it didn't matter too much. It was knowing the writing was the real sign of education. Zhenzi, I think you call it in Chinese, knowing the characters. So the writing is culturally of supreme importance for the Chinese, exact opposite of how it is in India. So fear not. When we're looking at it in the Roman script, this is genuine Pali, just as it's genuine Pali, whether it's written Thai, Burmese, or Sinhala script, which are the three most common scripts for it. So after that little discursion or digression, we'll come back to your recitation, please, Shalaka.
Sorry, but I have a question now.
That's perfectly all right.
Yeah, this is called Devanagari script, right? So what is the etymology of Devanagari then? It sounds like of the Devas. The
Devanagari, the divine city. It's the script of the divine city. Do you know? I think there's some dispute. I remember reading about it and getting into quite a confusion. There's some dispute about the origin of the Devanagari script. Certainly, it's a relatively recent. It didn't exist at the time of the Buddha. That's something I need to learn a little bit more about, actually. I think there is some doubt how it arose. I'll get back to it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So I'll recite it now.
Yes, please.
Mata yatha niyang puttang ayusa eka putta manurakhe evampi sabbabhutesu manasang bhavaye aparimanam.
Okay. Now, Shalika, were you making any effort to pronounce it any differently from Marathi? Was your pronunciation exactly as it would come out in your native Marathi?
Yes.
Exactly as you would pronounce it in native Marathi?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Can we now have a comparison side by side? Ram, would you like to do a recitation for us?
Matha yatha niyam putta mayusa eka putta manurakhe Evampi sabba bhutesu manasam bhavaye aparimanam.
Okay, wonderful. Am I right in thinking that in native Tamil you don't distinguish between a b, b? Do you have the?
No,
Okay.
we do not have this difference.
Okay.
Sanskrit
So, so you were then very consciously applying a Northern Indian pronunciation, like a
That's right.
Ganges Valley pronunciation to that.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. Wonderful. So here we have two authentic voices of India have given that to us. I'm almost feeling inclined to travel a little bit further east. Li how do you feel inclined to give us a recitation of the verse?
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
So it's Mata Yata Niyang Putang Ayusa Eka Putang Anurake Evampi Sabab Putesu Manasam Bawaye Aparimanang.
Okay, that is pretty good, but there was one point um, where you didn't do the doubling, which of course you don't do in Chinese. But it's important to get the doubling, so it's not anurake, but anurake, anurake.
Anurake.
Okay, but consciously hold it, anurake.
Anurake.
That's much better. Okay, that was slightly exaggerated, but I told you to, so that's all right. So just say sabba, sabba,
Sabba.
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 Okay, that's a lot better. You put in a little glottal stop there, which was a slightly Thai thing to do, and it's sabbabhutesu, sabbabhutesu. Okay, thank you, Limei. So we've had a Chinese voice of Singaporean origin. Should we have a Chinese voice of Taiwanese origin? I know you enjoy doing it, Chen Hui.
Metta yata niyam putam ayusa eka putam anuhakaye.
Yeah, anurake, anurake. Yes.
Eva pi sapu sapa putasu
Butesu. Butesu. Yeah.
putesu sapa putesu manasama pupfa
Bhavaye.
avaye apri mana
Really. Apparimanam.
aparimanam.
Okay. Now, Chen Hui, you're going to get the prize for the most improved student because no, seriously, when I first asked you to recite a verse a couple of weeks ago, you were really shy about it. Sorry to say this, but you were really shy about it and you were struggling. There is such a distinct improvement that I'm glad I think I did the right thing. And I'll carry on asking you, Chin Hui. So I've seen a really good improvement there. I'm delighted about that. Thank you. Thank you. Jay, are you going to try and match Chin Hui?
Mata, is that correct?
Okay, right, Mata. Now, in English, if we stress the first syllable, we'd naturally want to make the second one short, Mata. But in Sanskrit and Pali, if it's long, it stays long. Mata, Mata, Yata.
Mata Yafa Nayam Utam Ayusa Ekaputam Anuraki
Nurake, Nurake.
Ivan Pit Sadabut Saba Boots Bootsil.
Bhutesu. Bhutesu.
Bhutesu. Ma'anan sam bhava bhave
Bhavaye.
bhave aparimanyanam.
Aparimarnam. Okay. Don't worry, Jake, you are getting that.
I was trying to stress the A's.
Okay, not so much a question of stressing them. They've got to be clearly pronounced. You might put them sometimes if you hear a Hindi speaker, it might really shorten the at so it becomes almost lost sometimes. Sambhutesu. Say manasam. A Hindi speaker would say something like mansam or mansa. But that's a peculiarity of Hindi. But if it's there, pronounce it. If it's short, okay, it's short, but it's still got to come out clearly. So just give it its proper length, neither lengthening it nor eliding it completely. So Charlotte, do you feel inclined to have a go?
It's not. Oh, done. Right, yes, I'll have a go. Mata yata niyam putan ayusa eka putam anurake ivampi sabba butesu manasan bhavaye aparimanam.
Well, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. I'm just going to mention one point, and Jai also the same point. This A of eka, remember it's long. Eka putang, eka putang. And in Sanskrit, the A and the O are always and invariably long. In Pali, the A and the O are always long unless they're forced to be short. And forced to be short means if it's followed by a consonant cluster or a double consonant. For example, to say eka, but the word metta is followed by a double consonant. Therefore, in Pali, it's shortened to an e. But if it's at the end of a word or followed just by a single consonant, the eka, then you must pronounce it long.
I've always wondered that. I've always wondered why it's not metta instead metta.
Ah, okay. So the basic rule is, I mean, the underlying rule you remember is Sanskrit, Pali, always long. Now, for example, let's look at the word. The Sanskrit word for a field is kshetra. Kshetra. That's the same word that appears in Pali as ketta. Anutram punyakettam lokasatnya, punyaketta. So it's not pronounced, so Sanskrit long kshetra, but Pali ketta. If metta were a Sanskrit word, in fact, it's a bit different in Sanskrit. So metta, if a Sanskrit speaker were pronouncing that word, it would be a long e, even though it's followed by a double consonant. It would be metta, metta in Sanskrit. But it becomes short in Pali because it's followed by a double consonant. That, incidentally, is the reason why we never bother in Pali to write the longs and the shorts for A and O, because you always know whether it's long or short, because it always wants to be long and is only ever short if it's forced to be, unlike A and A, U and U, which are different sounds. So you have to mark them long or short. You don't mark them in Pali because you can just see from the context whether it's long or short. So let's have one more. We can have one more recitation before we go on. But Todd, do you feel inclined to do a recitation?
Sure, why not?
Why not, indeed?
Mata yata niyang puttang ayusa eka putta manurake evam pisababute sumanasam pavaye aparimanang.
Okay, very good, very good. Actually, there are so few people left for us that we might as well go through everyone. Rosemary, would you like to have a go?
Bit hesitant, James. Mata yata nivam putam ayusa eka putam anurake evampi saba utesu manasam bayaye aparimana.
Okay, almost perfect with bhavaye, bhavaye.
Bayaye.
And an interesting point arises here. This sound v that we transliterate with a V in Roman script. How is it pronounced? Is it a V or a W or something in between? We don't exactly know how it was pronounced in Sanskrit, because we do know how it's pronounced among the modern Indians. And for example, how would you pronounce Ram? If you're speaking in Tamil, how would you pronounce something like Bhavaye? How would that V come out?
It'll just be Bavaye.
Bhavaye with a V. And
without any H undertones there.
Okay. And do you have the word Ivalavu?
It's how this much.
Yeah, this much. Can you pronounce in correct Tamil Ivalavu?
Yeah. It's not an L, but L with a stress. Yeah. Ivalavu.
Okay.
So that goes back about here.
So that's more of a V sound. Okay. In northern India, it's more of it's what's called a bilabial. It's not a W and it's not a V. It's the lips a bit close together with a V sound.
Yeah.
If, however, it's immediately followed by one of the consonants, it comes out as more of a dwa. So, for example, Dwara. I'm thinking of the Hindi pronunciation. So it's not Dwar, pure W sound. Swatantra, Dwara comes out as a pure W there. That's just because it's got a consonant in front of it. That's
we got those two words as well in Tamil, pronounced exactly the same way as well. Exact words as well.
Is that right? So how would you say
Dwaram, yeah. Dwaram, yeah.
Dwara. So it would come out as a pure word in Tamil. Okay.
Yeah, but again from Sanskrit, I think it's borrowed from Sanskrit. But
that's right, it is. Dwara. In fact, it means door, and it's cognate with our English word door.
Yeah. No, but it also translates to a tiny hole or a portal, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, right. So just an opening in a surface you can go through, which is what a door is ultimately. So yes. So the Gurudwar, like the Guru gate, the gate of the teacher. So we have differing pronunciations. In Thailand, for example, here the Thai chanting, they always pronounce it as a pure W sound. So the Thai is this word that they'd actually pronounce Pawaye, because the Thais can't pronounce a B sound. It comes out as a P among the Thais. Pawaye. The answer is it doesn't really matter very much. You are going to hear, completely authentic, learned speakers from different parts of India pronouncing that W in slightly different ways. It's a matter of standard regional variation in a sense. So don't stress over it. I mean, I make what attempt I can to give it a Ganges Valley pronunciation. In other words, well, I just make my best effort. Whether I succeed or not, others will judge to pronounce it in the way that it's likely to have been pronounced at the time of the Buddha. We don't exactly know, of course, and we never can, but we've got some very, very good clues in the way that the modern Brahmins chant the Vedas, which is that's the closest we'll ever get to the authentic old pronunciation. So who was left here? Chris, you haven't given us a recitation. You know this by heart anyway, Chris, don't you?
Matta yata niyam puttang ayusa eka putta manurakke evam pisabba butte sumana sangbhavaye aparimanam.
Okay, yes, that was a chant with the very strong rhythm of the way that we, even as if you'd had instruction from Rachel Hall herself. Which I'm sure you have, as I have.
I have, yes.
we both have. So who remains? Oh, Michael, yes.
All right, my turn. Okay,
it is.
Mata yatha niyang buddhang ayusa eka buddham manurakhe evam pisabba bhute sumana sangbhavaye aparimana.
Okay. That was pretty nice. And one thing in particular, which native English speakers often find it difficult to get, is the aspirated and non-aspirated stops. And many an English speaker will tend to say mata with more like an aspirate, because that's how we do it in English. Many English speakers would find it difficult to say, for instance, pari. The average English speaker would tend to aspirate as a pari. But because that's the way we do it in English. It was quite a while before I managed to get them right. But you were very successful, Michael. It came out well.
Thank you. I've been working on it.
And well, it shows.
For anyone still trying to feel the difference between an aspirated and unaspirated, like P, try saying the word spill, and think about what you're.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah.
Because like you look at P, and if you say P by itself, you just put that little puff of air, pill. But when you say spill, you actually don't put the puff in.
That's right. So we can do it, but only with an S in front. Actually, you've reminded me. I remember, years and years ago, when I was first starting my study of Hindi, actually back when I was 21 or so, 22, and that was the advice we were given. So just put the back of your hand, the sensitive back of your hand, near your mouth, and say pill, and you can feel the puff of air on the back of your hand. Now say spill, and you don't feel that puff of air. So you're dead right, Michael. So to pronounce the initial without the puff of air, that's the struggle for the English speaker. The Indians do it naturally, of course. So everyone's had except Duncan, do you feel inclined to? I mean, it'd be lovely to hear the Pali with a bit of a Scottish touch to it. Nobody is forced.
I think as I said before, James, I would prefer not to.
Okay, very well. I will not force it. So what we'll do then, any questions or comments on this, and then we can move on to the next verse, verse 8. Okay. Well,
Sorry, just the root bhutam that you were talking about, is that, does it also have a connotation of referring it to the elements, the 5 elements? Because we do have it here, Panchabhut. Is it?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's a word of, it's got quite a diverse range of meaning, this bhu, as you would expect, or almost expect from such a fundamental word. So bhuta is the past participle, so originally meant being, but it also means a being. But also, as Ram just mentioned, it's the word, one of the words used for the fundamental elements. You have the Mahabhutani, the great beings in the sense of, the great things which are the fundament of physical being. So we have it meaning something it is, an existing being. We have the meaning of the element. And we also have the phrase, for example, yatha bhutam, as been, means as it really is. Tell it like it really is. Yatha bhutam vada. So it's got quite a wide range of semantic meaning. Incidentally, this root bhu turns up in Greek as pu. In classical Greek, it was being pronounced pu, but in modern Greek, she, from which we get physical, physics. So our word for physical derives from the same root as being, that which is, that which then concretely is. So this echoes the Mahabhutani, the elements of our physical world, and here we have it in the Greek, English, physics, physical. It's such fun when these kind of little resonances turn up over the centuries. Whoever would have thought that our modern English verb to be and physical from the Greek physikos actually come from the same root, and the Mahabhutani as well. So on we go to number 8. So, here we have the very first syllable there. We have the e but pronounced short, metancha. Remember, although the vowel is pronounced short, the syllable itself is heavy, because in Sanskrit and Pali metrics, syllables are divided into laghu and garu, literally light and heavy. So metancha is heavy, heavy light. Garu, garu, laghu, metancha. It's quite important in poetry and in verse, and very important indeed if you're chanting in unison, because a heavy syllable is exactly twice the length of a light syllable. And when you're chanting in unison, if you get it wrong, you immediately know because you're out of step with everyone else. So a light syllable is one matra, the word we were discussing earlier, because in Sanskrit, a syllable can have one matra or 2 matras. In Vedic, it can have 3. There are 3 matra syllables in Vedic, but that's only Vedic. That doesn't apply in classical Sanskrit or in Pali. So in classical Sanskrit and Pali, we have just the light and the heavy. A syllable is it's very easy to know which it is. If the vowel itself is long, the syllable is automatically heavy. Okay, aparimanam. if the syllable ends in the anuswara, ends in the vowel is short, but the syllable itself is heavy. Aparimanam, aparimanam. And if it's followed by a doubled consonant or a consonant cluster, then again, the vowel is short, but the syllable is heavy. Sub, subba, subba. So in theory, the length of time, you can actually measure it on these voice measurers, the length of time it takes to say sub is exactly twice the length of time it takes to say the a, sabba. So here we have mettancha, garu garu lagu.
Sorry, James. Do you not have half measures, the half matras? Because the concept is exactly the same in Tamil as well. We have half, 1 and 2.
Ah, okay. In classical Sanskrit, no, and in Pali, no. It's either laghu or garu. So you have a half measure in Tamil, do you?
Yeah, I would imagine, for example, sub locus, when you say sub, the ib would be half for me.
Okay, right. Sambalu. Then the question is that just a question of how it's pronounced, or how?
No, it's properly used for measurement as well.
Ah, right. Okay. I'm interested to hear that. I hadn't known that. The answer is in Sanskrit, no. You do not have the half syllable.
Okay.
In the mouths of Hindi speakers, that's how it might come out, because the Hindi speaker will often tend to shorten a short a shorter than it would have been in Sanskrit and Pali, and it becomes almost like a bhakti swara, like a half syllable, a grace note in musical terms. But that's just a question of how it sometimes comes out in pronunciation with individual speakers. But as a question of, as a matter of, you might say, academic prosody, how does that verse go? It's only heavies and lights in Sanskrit and Pali. Incidentally, the words for heavy and light, let me give you those. There's garu and laghu. So garu is a word meaning heavy. The original meaning of it was just heavy in weight. Incidentally, by a flip of the vowel, garu actually is from garu, we have guru. And with essentially that same meaning, because the garu, heavy, it also, by extension of meaning, is the weight of respect that you give to somebody. And you have a word like gaurava, meaning dignity, respect, showing respect to somebody. It's the same word that turns up in Latin as gravis, heavy, from which we get gravity and grave. And also in modern English, we use it in modern English from Latin, the word gravitas. Gravitas meaning the kind of dignity that surrounds a person. So we almost go back right to the ancient Sanskrit. Gaurava and gravitas have very much the same meaning. Laghu is etymologically exactly the same as our English word light. In fact, we still retain the GH in the writing of it. It used to be licht or leicht, but it's kept in spelling, but no longer in the pronunciation. I mentioned earlier this g to v flip. which you often find as it goes from one language to the other. So laghu is the Latin levis, meaning light, from which you get levity, lightheartedness. So gravitas, levity, go back to garu, laghu.
If Levi origin seems to indicate light, then why do we have such words like the extinct huge mammals called Leviathan?
Leviathan. Oh goodness me! I have to say, Leviathan. I wonder if that could be a. It looks as if it might be a Hebrew word, but you've raised an interesting point, and I'm not going to let that go out of my mind until I've checked it, Ram. There's nothing light about it. Leviathan. That's as heavy as you can get. I'll check that one out, Ram. I like that one. So, Metancha. Incidentally, note for the spelling here, this can equally well have been written as an Anuswara M. Oops, so it could equally have been written Mettan with an Anuswara, the subtitle M followed by Cha, without any change of meaning. It would always be pronounced as Metancha, but you will find that before a ch, it will very often be written as with the proper metancha. So metancha. It's almost the choice of how you write it. It makes they're both equally correct. The pronunciation would always come out as metancha, as because that's how the mouth would normally go. Metancha. So metancha sabbalokasamin manasam bhavaya parimanam. Uddham madhocha tiriyancha asambadhang averang asapattam. Actually, back to Ram's point about the half measure, the ardhamatra, I think would be called in Sanskrit. Do you call it that in Tamil? It would be ardhamatra in Sanskrit, a half measure.
No, we call them matrai, but half matirai, but ardha is not translated over.
Okay, right. So you will hear this is lokasmin, which is one of the forms of the locative. We have ekasmin, tasmin. You will often hear in Pali chanting a little ardhamatra, a little half lokasamin. And I think that it's the Thais who put that in. I don't think you would hear an Indian pronouncing it like that. And certainly not a Sanskrit speaker who would say lokasmin. You see ekasamin and ekasamin samaye at one time. But be not deceived. That's not classical, as it were. That is simply a feature of the phonetics of Thai, have crept into some of the Pali chanting. And if you are chanting, as many of us do in the Samatha tradition, based on a Thai tradition learnt from Thais, we would tend to imitate the pronunciation of the Thais to a certain extent. But I would say it's non-classical. It creeps in because of Thai phonetics. It wouldn't be. It has no metrical significance, and would not be recognized in India. In fact, if a Thai said ekasamin, that little samaye, it would sound odd to the Sanskrit speaker's ear. You say, why don't they just say ekasmin? It's just a Thai way of doing it. So mittan chasabalokasmin manasam bhavaye aparimanam. Here we've got the repeated phrase that we've just seen, manasam bhavaye aparimanam. So here metta is used as an adjective. We normally use metta as a feminine noun, but it can be used as an adjective. A bit like sukha and dukkha. Sukha and dukkha, they're primarily nouns, but they're both correctly used as adjectives. Another one that's used as a noun and an adjective is papa, for example, which is both in Sanskrit, it's a neuter noun, it's also an adjective. So here, metta is an adjective qualifying manasam. So, a metaful mentality, you might translate. Manasam, mettanja manasam bhavaye, and let one cultivate a mind of metta. In fact, some people you see in modern times signing off their emails instead of kind regards, they sign off as mettena chittena, with a metaful mind, mettena chittena. Lokasmin, the asmin ending is an alternative locative. Normally you'd say sabbaloke, you would put. But sabbalokamhi, sabbalokasmin, sabbaloke are all valid forms in Pali. In Sanskrit, only the a would be allowed. In Pali, all three are allowed. And the answer, I've often been asked, well, is there a difference of meaning? The answer is absolutely no difference of meaning at all. And in fact, you'll even get these alternative forms used right next to each other in the same sentence. It's a matter of choice and style which you use, and often, of course, in poetry, a matter of meter as well. Lucas, these alternative endings in Pali have the advantage it makes life easier for the poet who's got to fit it into the meter. Uddhang adho chatiriyancha asambadhang averang asapattang. So uddham, this urdhvam in Sanskrit just means above. Adho, or adhas in Sanskrit, adho means below. Yes, Chris, as you...
Yeah. I was just interested in the syntax of that first line. I wondered if you'd like to comment on it. I mean, it seems very, or rather typical of certainly sort of kind of poetic Pali, but it seems you've got three words, metan, manasang, aparimanam. A kindly boundless mind. And then you've got these two other elements, sabalokasmin, for the whole world, and bhavaye, the verb, let him cultivate, interposed or sort of encapsulated within that. So you've got a kindly mind, metan manasang, for the whole world, interposed between the two. And then manasang aparimanang, a boundless mind, with the verb then again encapsulated between the two. I mean, it just seems that it's an interesting structure.
It is an interesting structure. You have just compelled me to look at it structurally more closely than I had. Maybe I'd just taken the easy way out in construing it as the manasam is, as a noun, the object of bhavaye, and mettan and aparimanam are two adjectives, both qualifying that. Of course, aparimanam could equally be construed as an adverb, boundlessly, in a manner. It could be construed like that, and whether in the mind of the native speaker that would have been clearly distinguished, I think is open to discussion either way. So matancha sabbalokasmin kasmin manasam bhavaye aparimanam. Yeah, okay. I mean, it's slightly unusual. It doesn't throw me or shock me in any way.
No, I didn't mean that. It actually is something that I've noticed before, and in many that it Pali tends to do this. That it tends to encapsulate a qualifier like sabalokasming in between, in this case, a noun and an adjective. And then that, I don't know, it's just something that I've observed. And
Yeah. I think you'll find this kind of construction fairly regularly in verse. Of course, in prose you tend to have more of a normal prose order, but this doesn't. I'm not. There's nothing in this that surprises me or makes me feel uncomfortable in verse.
No, I didn't mean to imply that. It just struck me as a sort of a characteristic of the way the words are put together.
Yeah.
I actually think it's rather elegant, and
it is rather elegant, and you have the same kind of thing, the repetition in a possibly slightly unexpected place. Matayita Nyamputam Ayusa, and then Ekaputtam, which is again put in after an adverbial use of Ayusa. It's actually quite elegant in a way. It's almost as if it's hitting your mind a little bit by the unusual or slightly unusual collocations of words.
To us anyway.
To us anyway. So, yes, Michael, please come in.
I totally agree on how elegant this is. And I guess if you wanted to capture the way it sort of, has these little capsules, you could say something like, friendly to the whole world mind, cultivate it boundless. You say cultivate the mind boundless. So I don't know, that's cool.
You could, or even a pause, friendly to the whole world mind, let him cultivate, pause, boundless. Yeah, I mean, it would certainly, putting that pause and boundless at the end of it would work in English.
How about a friendly towards the whole world mind, let him cultivate boundlessly?
Equally so. I think this could be construed either as an adjective qualifying manasam or as an adverb. In fact, it may be one of those things where the original writer may not even have, just may have held, or likely to have held both meanings at the same time and didn't even differentiate between them. So, Uddham Adho Chatiryancha. So this adho, actually, this is one of those funny words. It's a slight digression that there are a few words where something that is a the in Sanskrit and Pali turns up as an F in Latin. For example, the word dharma in Sanskrit is the same word as firmus in Latin, as in terra firma, firm, something is firmly held, which is the original meaning of dhr, is to hold. And this adha, Latin inserted in, so it's actually the same. It doesn't look at it like it on the surface. It's the same origin as infer, infra, below. And it has that same meaning. So adha, adhas, infra in Latin, which is where we get infernal. So infra just means below, and infernal, inferno, means the lower regions. From the word inferior, further below, is from that same root. So Uttamadhucha Tiriyan will wind up in a moment, but Tiriyancha, it's from Tiriyan to Tiriyanch, going across. Therefore, above, below, and across. It's the Tiri bit is the same, is from the root tri, meaning to cross. And in Sanskrit, Tiriyanch, across. In Latin, it turns up as trans, across. And the word tri, the root three, turns up in English. It means to cross over. It turns up in English as our preposition through. You go through, you go across from one side to the other. So transit and through, tri, tara, from that same root. And the tara, by the way, it's become a word of modern English. Your avatar. So it's avatara in Sanskrit. Ava means down or off. Tara, crossing. So the avatara is a being who has crossed down, down, was crossed down, say, from a divine realm and has taken on a visible form in our material world. That's the actual meaning of the avatar. So avatara in Sanskrit. The reason we say avatar without an A on the end, I think, because we've got the pronunciation from the Hindi speakers who would say avatar, not avatara, avatar. So there we are. So avatar in English just means down crossing in Sanskrit, a being who's crossed down from a higher realm to us. So we'll wind up here. As always, the 2 hours have gone mighty quickly for me. I have enjoyed it very much. Thank you for being with me, and hope to see you again next time round. And remember, any questions you have, please do feel free either to write them or ask next time round. Okay.
James.
Okay. Thank you all very much then. Thank you.
James.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank you.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.